Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together. And I've been practicing this morning to peace out. I have. I'm serious. I've got a list. I was up a couple of times in the night with Chris, and I got a list of stuff I was praying about this morning and rolling those concerns over to prayers, right? I turn those concerns into prayers. That's really a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. And let's see, my book of the week is 31 Days in Psalm 31. If you don't have a copy, grab a copy. If you do have a copy, get a couple of copies for gifts for somebody else, or share your copy if you didn't write in it. It's not really writable. So if you didn't write it, share your copy with someone if you already have one, right? Give that gift of finding God in the cave, right? Sitting with God in the cave. That's what David did. David found himself in the cave. That's where he wrote, when he wrote Psalm 31, was he was running from Saul and hiding in the back of the cave. And so it was literally written in the back of a cave. And isn't that cool that in the back of the cave, he was still seeking God? You know, God had promised him he was going to be a king, and yet nothing looked like it was supposed to. Nothing looked like he imagined. Isn't life that way? We know God gives us peace, but then we have all these things, or maybe it's just me, have all these things that come in my brain in the morning, and I'm going, oh, I got to do all this today, and I got to figure this out, and I got to figure that out. And sometimes it doesn't look like that peace that he promised, but we can always come back to it, because I know David, as scared as he was, and he admitted being scared sometimes. Even Paul admitted being scared sometimes, right? He said, with inner fears and without her fighting. This is right. And so, you know, it's okay in those moments when it doesn't look like what you thought God promised. Joseph is another example. I'm way off already, but that's okay. Joseph is another example. He didn't look like what God promised, right? He's sitting in a prison cell for something he didn't do. This doesn't look like all of my brothers and my parents bowing down to me. This doesn't look like what God promised, right? Then we even have Samson. We talked about him a few days ago, I guess. I don't remember which days ago now. We talked about Samson, though, and it didn't look like what God had promised. It didn't look like what God promised in his word, because he promised us peace. He promised us grace. He's promised us mercy. And sometimes our emotions don't quite match up to what we know God has promised us. I have a solution. I don't know that I can make it work yet. My problem is I'm trying to still make it work. And it's called this: trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your paths. We've got to keep coming back to that, right? And if we have to do it 1,000 times a day, it's okay. Because sometimes life doesn't look like what we thought it was going to look like. Or situations don't turn out like we thought. Maybe something, you know, I know if you've lived any time at all, you've had instances, maybe you've taken a new job or met a new friend or found a new author you love. I don't know, right? But you start on a new path and you go, man, it's so exciting. This is so fresh, refreshing. This is so awesome. And then it turns out to not be, right? It's not as awesome as you thought. It's not as refreshing as you thought. It's not as fulfilling as you thought. And then you're just standing there with your hands full of whatever you're doing going, I don't know what happened. It's okay. It's okay if things don't look like what you thought they were supposed to. Even piecing out can be, it's like, this isn't what I thought. I thought it was a button to push and then I never have to worry about it again. But no, it's an everyday thing. And it's not just an everyday thing. It's not in the morning you get up, push that peace button and you have peace all day. It's learning how to bring him everything all day long, even if you wake up at 2:30 and 4:30 to tend to somebody, right? It's about going back to him. It's about acknowledging him in all your ways, and then we've got to let him direct our paths. You see, I got here in Proverbs 3, by the way, 5 and 6, because I went back to Proverbs this morning, because yesterday we talked about the fear of the Lord is the very beginning. Just seeking God is the very start of wisdom. And then this morning I read on down through 1, I read on down through 2, where it says the Lord gives wisdom in 2:6. The Lord gives wisdom. But we can't ask him for wisdom until we know he's there, till we acknowledge that he's there. So seeking him is the beginning of wisdom. Then we can ask him and he gives wisdom. And then it says, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. From this word come knowledge and understanding about our hearts, about our lives, about how to walk out the peace that he gives us, about how to walk out the mercy and grace that he gives us. As a matter of fact, I ran over to James because I had the scripture in my mind that says mercy triumphs over judgment. And there is a lot of judgment in our world right now. We want to judge someone for something they say or wear or do, and I'm not even going to get into that. I avoid most of Facebook and most of social media because it just gets crazy really fast, right? And I got a quick tongue and it gets me in trouble, so I just don't talk. It's like, don't type that, back, right? Just say, okay, right? And so it's so easy, but you know what? We've got to find first in our own lives that mercy triumphs over judgment, because I find that I am the most judgmental person against myself, not other people. Other people I have all this grace for. Other people I'm like, oh, but you've got to give yourself some credit because this is a hard situation. You got to give yourself some credit. You did this right, even though this blew up. You got to give yourself some credit. You got to give yourself some grace. But when it comes to me, I have more judgment than I do for anybody else. Does that even make sense? So I want to go back to mercy triumphs over judgment. So I was looking at that, and then I went back to Proverbs. I was like, I need wisdom for so many different things. I'm praying on so many different things. I'm carrying so many things to God every single morning and afternoon and evening and in the middle of the night, right? No matter what time of day. Look at your watch, whatever time it is, and go, oh, Jeannie's taking something to God, because I'm doing it all the time. But isn't that how we learn how to trust Him with all our hearts? Verse 5, don't lean on your own understanding. We're going to get direction from the Word. We're going to get that. We follow that peace. That peace, I believe, is it Colossians? It says the peace acts as an umpire in your heart. That's the Amplified, telling you what's fair and foul. So we don't lean on what makes sense sometimes. We have to lean on what God says is foul and what God says is fair, right? And so the whole thing is walking the path of life and maintaining that peace. Because if we start to do something, we know when we don't have that peace, just don't go that way. Stop, come back, right? You start to go this way, go, okay. My Uncle Calvin always said, follow peace. Follow peace. If you start to do something and that peace is not there, just don't do it. Go back to where that peace was. Stop, wait if you have to. That's the hard part too, isn't it? We have to stop sometimes, and right in the middle of stuff, we have to stop and go, okay, I can't lean on my own understanding here. This is making sense. This isn't making sense. This is confusing. We have to stop and go back to seeking God, trusting God, and leaning on God, and following that peace. And all of a sudden, it seems like a complicated process, right? But it's not. It's really not. It all starts with and ends with, I just want God in my life. I just want God in my heart. I just want His Word to be practical and applicable in my life. I want that peace to be practical and applicable in my life, right? It all comes back to just needing Him more than I need anything else. When do we lose peace? The easiest way to lose peace is to go after something we shouldn't. Okay, that's just me. Y'all don't do that. It's just me. I shouldn't buy this because I don't really have the money, and then I get myself in a bind, and then it's like, ugh, well, if I had just followed peace. You don't have the money was the answer, right? That's just some example. I don't even have any money, so I can't do that today. But we get ourselves in binds because we fail to stop and just acknowledge God in every situation, which is the very next verse in Proverbs 3. Verse 6 says, let me read 5 and 6 together, okay? Verse 5 says, trust in the Lord with all your heart, every single part of your heart. Don't leave any of it out. Don't leave finances over there and trust God with the rest. Don't trust God with finances and not trust Him with the rest. We want to trust Him with our emotions, with our finances, with our relationships, with our jobs, with our kids, with etc. You fill in the blank. We want to trust God with all of our heart, everything that makes us up, right? Don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. That all starts with what we talked about yesterday, coming to God and just saying, I need your wisdom. Seeking God is the very beginning of wisdom. Seeking God is the very beginning of peace. Seeking God is the very beginning of learning how to walk this thing out with Him and letting Him walk with us in this life. Right? Because we can just walk through this life and He's just like waiting for us to join Him, right? We can join God and we can have that peace as we walk out this life. He's not just waiting in heaven for us when we're done. We can start seeking Him now. That's where that peace is going to come. That's where not leaning on our own understanding, but going to the Word and learning more about Him, asking Him for wisdom, asking Him for grace, asking Him for grace to help in time of need, right? And reminding ourselves that He's our refuge, that He's our strength, that He's our wisdom, that He's our provider. He's our fill in the blank for whatever you need today. We're just going to run to Him with it. Just run to Him with it. I promise you, He'll meet you right there. And then you can peace out. I'm going to peace out. Have a great day. You guys peace out. I'll see you again tomorrow.